We've all seen it in movies. The lone figure on the side of the road, thumb out, waiting for a ride. Maybe you've even thought about doing it yourself. Or maybe you've passed someone by and wondered about their story. But what if the story wasn't just a ride to the next town? What if that ride turned into a nightmare you could never escape? Tonight, we're diving into 4 disturbing, true hitchhiking horror stories. Some are from the perspective of the hitchhiker, some from the driver, but all of them share the same truth once you open that car door. You have no idea who you've just let into your life. Before we begin, let me ask you this. Would you ever dare to hitchhike to pick up a hitchhiker in today's world? Let me know in the comments below. And now, let's begin. The road at night is nothing like the road during the day. In the daytime, highways feel open, predictable, full of life. But once the sun sinks and the horizon swallows the last streaks of light, the road changes. It becomes narrow, suffocating, with your headlights carving out only a fragile tunnel of visibility. Beyond that tunnel is nothing but blackness, thick and unbroken, where anything could be watching you, and you'd never know. Sometimes, in that darkness, you pass people. Just shapes, at first lonely figures on the shoulder, their outlines blurred by the sweep of your lights. Most of us keep going, telling ourselves it's safer not to stop. But every so often, something about the way a person stands, the way they hold themselves against the night, makes you hesitate, makes you wonder what would happen if you slowed down. That's where this story begins, with me driving alone past midnight, in the kind of silence that makes every mile feel heavier than the last. I had been driving for hours, my eyes stinging from staring at the endless ribbon of pavement. The radio gave up 20 miles back, dissolving into static. So I drove with nothing but the hum of the engine and the faint whistle of wind pressing against the glass. That's when I saw her. She was standing on the side of the highway, right at the edge of the forest where the road curved. A thin girl, maybe 19 or 20, hugging herself against the night air. She didn't wave, didn't move, just stood there with her chin tucked low, like she'd been waiting for someone who never showed up. I should have kept driving. Every part of me screamed it, but my foot lifted off the gas anyway, and I found myself rolling to a stop, my headlights falling across her pale face and messy hair. For a second, I hesitated. The thought of pulling away flickered through my head. Could still go, pretend I hadn't seen her clearly. But then she turned her head, and her eyes met mine through the windshield. Something in them looked desperate, pleading, as if I was her last chance at escaping whatever had left her stranded here. I rolled the window down halfway, the cool night air pouring into the car. "Do you need a ride?" I asked. My voice sounded too loud in the silence, almost intrusive. She didn't answer. She just kept staring, her arms wrapped tightly around her middle. Then, in a movement so sudden, I flinched. She reached for the handle, opened the door, and slid into the passenger seat. The door shut with a dull thud, and the air inside the car felt instantly heavier. She sat, rigid, pressed close to the door, her hands gripping the straps of a small bag. Her clothes looked worn, the knees of her jeans torn, the cuffs of her sleeves frayed. Dirt streaked her arms and neck, and when I caught a faint whiff of her, it was damp earth, like she'd been lying in the grass for hours. She didn't look at me, not once. Her wide eyes locked forward, fixed on the dark road, unspooling ahead of us. Her breathing was shallow but steady, and her lips trembled like she wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. I tried breaking the silence. "Where are you headed?" Her response was so soft, I almost didn't catch it. One word: home. The way she said it chilled me. Not like she was going somewhere familiar, but like she was reminding herself that home even existed. The directions she gave were strange. She didn't give me a town name, not even a street number. Just vague instructions. "Turn here, go left, keep straight." And I followed, even as the roads grew smaller and the night grew darker. The last streetlight flickered and disappeared behind us, and soon the trees swallowed us whole, their branches arching over the road like skeletal arms. My GPS froze, then went blank, leaving me with nothing but her whispers and the steady pounding of my heart. Every so often, she'd glance out the window, staring into the woods with a longing expression I couldn't place. It was as though she recognized something in the blackness. I wanted to ask her if she was sure we were going the right way, but the question stuck in my throat. Finally, after what felt like miles of silence, she spoke again. Her voice was fragile, barely above a whisper. "They left me here," she said. "They told me if I was strong enough, I'd find my way back." Her words made no sense. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. "Who left you?" I asked, cautiously. She turned her head toward me slowly, and for the first time, I saw her eyes fully in the glow of the dashboard. They looked empty, like the shine of life had drained away. "My family," she said. Her voice cracked on the word family, like it was something she wasn't supposed to say out loud. And the way she said it didn't sound like abandonment. It sounded like punishment. The road ended abruptly. No houses, no driveways, no signs of civilizations. A wall of trees, as though the pavement had been swallowed whole by the forest. I slowed to a stop, frowning. This can't be right. I turned to her to ask for better directions. But the seat beside me was empty. Her bag, her trembling hands, her hollow eyes, gone. The seat belt still hung loose where she had been sitting, and the cushion bore the faint impression of her weight. The air around me was freezing, colder than it should have been. My breath fogged faintly against the windshield, even though the heater was on. I twisted to look behind me, my heart hammering, and in the mirror, just for a heartbeat, I saw her, standing on the same stretch of road where I'd first found her, arms wrapped tight around herself, waiting for the next car to stop. After that night, I swore I'd never pick up another hitchhiker again. I kept replaying the image of that girl vanishing beside me. The way she'd reappeared in the rearview mirror like she'd never left the side of the road. But promises like that are easy to make in the daylight. At night, when you're tired, when the highway stretches endlessly in both directions, and the gas gauge dips dangerously low, start to make excuses. It was 2 weeks later when I found myself pulling into a lonely gas station just off the interstate, the kind with a single flickering light and a row of vending machines no one had used in years. I needed fuel, caffeine, maybe just a few minutes to breathe. But the moment I stepped out of the car, I felt it, that same prickle along the back of my neck, the one I'd felt before I met her. She was sitting by the vending machines. Not the same girl, not even close, but something about her presence felt eerily familiar. She had long, tangled hair that covered half her face, and a jacket 2 sizes too big, sleeves swallowing her hands. She sat, slouched, knees drawn up, rocking slightly as though she'd been waiting there for hours. When I glanced her way, she looked up. Her face was pale, gaunt, her lips dry and cracked. She gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes, headed east. She asked, her voice raw, like she hadn't spoken in days. I froze, the pump still in my hand. A sane person would have shaken their head, climbed back into the car, and driven off. But against all reason, I heard myself say, "Yeah, why?" Her smile widened, though her eyes remained glassy and flat. "Take me with you." The silence that followed was unbearable. The hum of the pump, the buzz of the flickering light, the faint rustle of the trees nearby, all pressed in on me, daring me to make a choice. I told myself it was fine, safer than the first time. I wasn't in the woods this time, not on a forgotten road, just a gas station, a public place. She was small, tired, not threatening. What was the harm in giving her a ride a few miles down the highway? When she stood, I noticed something odd. Her clothes looked decades old. The jacket was worn, patched in places with mismatched fabric. Her jeans were stiff with dirt, her shoes scuffed beyond repair. But she moved lightly, like none of it weighed her down. She climbed into the passenger seat, without hesitation, pulling the door shut behind her. It should have been a straight shot east. I told her I wasn't going far, just a couple exits. She nodded like she understood, but then she began to give me instructions, soft murmured directions that led me away from the main road. Left at the faded billboard, right past the abandoned diner. Stay straight when the asphalt crumbled into gravel. My grip on the wheel tightened with each turn. The landscape grew emptier, lonelier. No headlights followed us, no taillights appeared ahead. Just endless black fields and the skeletal outlines of barns collapsing into themselves. It was happening again. I knew it, but I couldn't stop. Finally, she spoke, her voice distant, detached. They said they'd meet me, she whispered. Said they'd be right back, but they never came. Her hands were twisted in her sleeves, knuckles white. I waited and waited. Thought maybe I'd done something wrong. Thought maybe I wasn't worth coming back for. I swallowed hard, unsure if I should answer. The way she spoke wasn't like she was telling me a story. It was like she was reciting lines she'd already said hundreds of times. Her face turned toward the window, and I saw her reflection in the glass, except it didn't match. Her reflection's mouth was moving faster, whispering words I couldn't hear, while she sat perfectly still beside me. At last, she told me to stop. We were in front of a ruined farmhouse, windows boarded, the roof caved in, weeds swallowing the front steps. This is home, she said. Her voice was flat, final. I stared at the building, then back at her, but the seat beside me was empty. No sound of the door opening, no shift in the air. She was simply gone. Only the faintest impression of her weight lingered in the seat. But in the farmhouse window, high up in the broken frame of the second floor, I saw her silhouette, just standing there, watching me. I didn't wait to see more. I slammed the car into gear and tore down the gravel road, dust rising in the rearview mirror. When I finally reached the highway again, the lights of the gas station far behind me, I promised myself I was done. No more strangers, no more hitchhikers. But deep down, I knew that wasn't the end. Because the world is full of lost places, broken roads, and people who never make it home. And somehow, they always find a way to step out of the shadows and ask for a ride. After the gas station girl, I started keeping my eyes forward, never glancing too long at the side of the road. But that only worked for so long. I drive a lot, at night-long shifts, endless highways, and the road has a way of drawing in strays. It was maybe 3 weeks later, near midnight, when I spotted him, a lone figure standing at the edge of a rest stop exit, thumb out, his other hand holding a duffel bag, so worn it was barely holding together. Something in me knew I should just keep driving. but I slowed. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was habit. Maybe it was the nagging thought that if I ignored him, I'd see him again, later, somewhere he shouldn't be. He climbed in without a word, setting the duffel between his boots. His posture was stiff, head tilted slightly downward, like he didn't want to meet my eyes. At first, I thought it was just nerves. Some people don't like talking. But the longer I drove, the more unsettling it became. He didn't look at the road, didn't glance at the radio, didn't shift in his seat, just sat there, still and silent. I cleared my throat, trying to break the tension. "Where you headed?" His voice was low, hollow, almost mechanical. "Just drive." I risked a glance at him under the dashlight, and my stomach turned to ice. His face wasn't right. It was like someone had blurred his features, smoothed them out until there was almost nothing left. No eyes, no nose. Just the faintest ridges of where they should have been. And yet, I could feel him watching me. My grip tightened on the wheel. I told myself I was imagining it, that the dim light was playing tricks, that my exhaustion was twisting shadows into horrors. But then he turned slightly toward me, and the air seemed too thin, like he was pulling the oxygen out of the car. The silence stretched until I thought I'd scream just to break it. Then, finally, he spoke again. "You've seen them," he said, his faceless head tilted toward me, though I still couldn't tell how he could see at all. I didn't answer. My throat had closed up. They walk the roads. They wait at the edges. They don't belong anywhere, so they follow. His voice was calm, almost casual, like we were just two strangers sharing road stories. Once you've seen one, the rest know where to find you. My heart thudded painfully. I didn't want to believe him, but deep down, I already knew he was right. I pulled onto the next exit, desperate to get him out of my car, desperate to put distance between us. But when I stopped under the streetlight of a deserted intersection, the seat beside me was empty. The duffel was gone too. No sound of a door opening. No trace he'd ever been there at all. And yet, in the mirror, I swore I saw him standing in the middle of the road behind me, not waving, not moving, just standing. His faceless head tilted ever so slightly, as though listening to something I couldn't hear. I drove 4 hours after that, hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. I couldn't shake his words. Once you've seen one, the rest know where to find you. And maybe that explained everything. The girl in the woods, the one at the gas station, him, they weren't random. They weren't coincidences. I'd opened some kind of door the first time I pulled over, and now I couldn't close it. They'd keep finding me. The horizon bled gray with the first hint of dawn, and I should have felt relief. But instead, the light only made the world lonelier. The roads stretched endlessly, and, for the first time, I realized there might never be an end to this. Hitchhikers, shadows, strangers with no place left to go. And me, the one who couldn't stop picking them up, couldn't stop looking too long at the edges of the road. Because once you've seen them, they never really leave. It was pouring rain the night I picked him up. Sheets of water hammered the windshield, wipers thrashing uselessly as I crawled down a narrow country road. My headlights caught him at the last second. A man in a dark coat, thumb pointed out, hair plastered to his forehead. I almost drove past, but the storm was brutal, and something about leaving him there felt cruel. So I pulled over, leaned across, and popped the passenger door. He slid in without hesitation, soaking wet, water dripping onto the seat. He muttered a quick thanks, but didn't offer his name. "Where to?" I asked, trying to peer through the rain. "Just keep going straight," he said. His voice was deep, steady, but something about it made me uneasy. The road wound deeper into the woods, narrower by the mile. The GPS lost signal within minutes, leaving me blind, except for his instructions. Left at the fork, right past the fallen sign. Straight where the pavement turned to gravel. The rain masked everything outside, turning the world into a blur of trees and shadows. After nearly half an hour of following his directions, I realized I had no idea where we were. There hadn't been a house, a gas station, or even another car, just endless forest. Finally, I cleared my throat. "How much further?" He didn't answer right away. He just smiled, a slow curl of lips that didn't reach his eyes. "Not far now." Something about the way he said it sent a chill crawling down my spine. The rain eased for a moment, and in that fleeting clarity, I saw them, shapes in the trees, dozens of them. Figures standing just off the road, motionless, their faces hidden by shadow. My hands tightened on the wheel. "Who are they?" I whispered before I could stop myself. The man in the passenger seat didn't look out the window. He didn't need to. His smile widened. "They've been waiting." The gravel road narrowed until it felt like the trees were pressing in on us. Branches scraped the sides of the car, clawing like fingers. The headlights barely cut through the dark, and yet the man told me to keep going. At some point, I realized something terrifying. This road wasn't on any map. Not even a dirt path should have stretched this long without connecting back to something. It was as if the forest itself had built it just for us. And when I finally tried to stop, to turn around, the man's hand gripped my wrist with a strength that froze me in place. "Keep driving." His voice had changed. Lower, heavier, like it wasn't meant for human ears. "They all make the same mistake," he said. "They pick us up, They think they're being kind. But the road was never yours to leave. I glanced at him, heart hammering, and what I saw nearly made me lose control of the car. His face was no longer his face. It had stretched, thinned, as though the skin itself had melted, revealing something beneath something that smiled wider than any human could. I don't know how I did it. Maybe it was panic, maybe desperation. But I slammed the brakes, yanked the wheel, and the car skidded sideways off the gravel. Branches shattered against the windshield as we crashed into the undergrowth. When the car finally stopped, the passenger seat was empty. The door hadn't opened. There was no sound. Just the echo of rain and my own ragged breathing. But in the mirror, far down the road, I thought I saw him still walking, not toward me, just further, deeper into the endless dark. I stumbled back onto the highway. Hours later, the storm long gone. My car was totaled, scratched raw by the forest. My clothes were soaked through, mud caked to my boots. But the worst part, when I tried to retrace the road the next day, it wasn't there. No fork, no gravel, no sign a road had ever existed in those woods at all. It was like the forest had swallowed it whole. That was my last ride, at least the last one I'll ever tell. Because the thing about hitchhikers is, they're always out there, standing at the edges of highways, waiting at gas stations, hiding in the rain. And once you've seen them, you'll notice more and more figures that don't belong, faces that don't look right, roads that shouldn't exist. So, the next time you're driving late at night and you see someone standing by the side of the road with their thumb auscues, is it worth the risk? Or will they already be waiting in your back seat?